Next up is Group B, which has Uzbekistan, Australia, Syria, and India. And I actually want to key in on one of these teams because when you think about the population, the people that have consumed the Give and Go specifically, the people that truly appreciate our show, that truly have seen us time and time again since the inception of our show 2 years ago, there's two nations that stand out. Number one, right here at home, America, the USA, our first and number one demographic that watches our content. That one makes sense to us, right?
God bless.
The home of the Give and Go Gophers. But number two, bro, is none other than India. And it's by a fine margin, bro. More views than the United Kingdom. Indians have been following us for so long, and not just that, they've been asking us for these past 2 years, bro, in the comment section to just talk about their team. And we've been waiting for that moment to actually dive deep into what this Indian national team can do and where they're at as a whole country, right? Because they've been trying to develop the sport over there. They've been trying to make a name for themselves in this region, but we never really had a chance to talk about them because they didn't compete for the World Cup and they got eliminated pretty quickly out of World Cup qualification. And there really wasn't a tournament for us in the past 2 years where we could truly key in on this Indian national team. But it's our second home, bro. Our second home. These people have been waiting for so long. And finally, India will be talked about. Finally, we can sit here. Reynoso Soltero can speak about this Indian national team. Maybe there's something magical happening for these Indian people. They can finally comment on a video that actually talks about their goddamn team. This could be a beautiful, beautiful moment right now here for the Give and Go. And I want to throw this alley-oop to you by posing you this question. Does India make it out of this group?
No. No. They're finishing third at best.
Damn it.
And the thing is, I wish this was under better circumstances, bro. I really do wish. But literally all I can say about India is they're not bad. They're not bad.
No.
But would I call them good? No, I wouldn't call them that either.
You wouldn't do that.
I would say they're bang average, maybe even a little subpar.
No.
And that's about it. Now, has the game progressed a little bit? Maybe. I mean, they had a decent 2019. They actually had a crazy start, actually. They beat Thailand 4-1. 4-1. And what's crazy is that Thailand ended up making out of the group that year and India didn't.
Yeah.
And I think the same thing's going to happen here. The problem is that this group's pretty tough when you consider that you have Australia and Uzbekistan waiting in the banks.
Oh, they got hoed, bro.
Yeah.
They got fucked by being in this group. I'm not going to lie to them.
Yeah.
If they wanted a shot at doing something special, it's not going to happen in this group.
Oh, no, it sucks. And if they get killed against those teams, then even if they finish in third place, they might be one of the worst third place finishers and not even get into the knockout stage. So it's really unfortunate for India that they got this draw. But like I said, they're not bad, but I mean, there's a lot of teams that are better than India. Yeah. There's a lot of Asian teams that are better than India. Let's just be honest.
Our Indian brothers. I apologize, but I completely agree with Soltero. Yeah, I have this team actually finishing in dead last in this group. I do. India, a team that recently won the SAF championship, if that's something to be worth noting. I mean, it's silverware. You know, silverware goes far for the mentality of these players and the country as a whole. Currently coached by Igor Stimac, the Croatian. But their track record has been interesting, man. It's been interesting with losses to Bahrain, Jordan, Lebanon, and Malaysia, man. They're missing that ability to enter not even like the elite level of Asia, but just that next step, bro.
That's the thing, is that all those teams you listed, I would actually put them a little above India. And so India can't compete with the opponents that are just slightly better than them. So yeah.
I think the one thing that the Indian fans that are realists, the ones that are realists and not optimistic about some bullshit, the ones that are realists, all they're hoping for is a good result against Syria. That's your moment in this tournament. Defeat the Syrians, bro.
Yeah.
Whoop their asses. Get a victory to show people that, hey, maybe not now, but in 2027 for the Saudi Arabia AFC Asian Cup, we can maybe do something then. Because obviously it's not going to happen against Australia. It's not going to happen against Uzbekistan. But that game where the two worst teams in this group face off against each other, that will be the shining moment for either country, honestly, to get a moment on this stage and to, you know, have their moment of happiness that I think will go a long way for these countries.
Yeah, and to be honest, I actually do have India beating Syria in that faithful match, thus giving them a third place finish in this group. Watching Mumbai City this year was a bit of a chore, I'll be honest, but it was a lot better than I was expecting, man. They played against Al Hilal. also Nabahor, two very, very good teams in the AFC Champions League this year. And the Indians, honestly, yes, they got killed in every occasion, but they played some decent football. And I do think it translates to their ability at the national team where they can beat teams that are weaker than them. I think that's what India's done well as of late is they beat opponents that are truly lesser than them. But yes, they do struggle to beat opponents that are better than them. But I actually do see Syria as weaker in this specific case. So I have India finishing in third.
I actually have them finishing in fourth here because I see them both actually tying in the match that they face off against each other. Okay. And I think India will get worse results against the top teams than Syria because of their play style. Just to highlight some Indian players that I think are worth highlighting. I mean, you have Sunil Chetri.
39.
39, bro. 39 years old, still going. I wonder if he can actually be effective for this team at this tournament. But it's just crazy that, imagine if he was 15 years younger and just now joining the Indian national team.
That'd be different.
That'd be different, bro.
That'd be very
It'd
different.
be so different because he scored so many goals for this team throughout his entire career, but it was for an Indian side that, has barely made a name for themselves at the footballing stage. Now with what they're becoming, with their appearances in this tournament, with what they're trying to become, it would have been amazing to have a fully young, promising Chetri to just lead the offensive line for India. So saddened by that, but at the same time, paying a lot of respect to that legend who is 39 years old playing in this tournament. Yeah. Any other players that stand out to you? Because I just saw a lot of guys that play at Mumbai City or at Mahum Bagan Super Giant.
No, I think there's one player named Vikram Singh who plays for Mumbai City. He really stood out for me when he played in the Champions League. Other than that, I just think there are a bunch of just solid players that, again, are playing well for India, but in the grand scheme of things, I think it will be very tough to play against very high-level talent in this group.
And I think that helps me perfectly transition over to the next team that we were just talking about. Let's talk about Syria, man.
Talk about Syria.
Syria in this group, number 91 in FIFA rankings, coached by Hector Cooper, the Argentine coach. Bro, how many of these countries actually have a coach that's from their country, bro? Damn near every single one has a coach that's from outside their country.
Dude, no, for real.
Outside of Japan, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a stat. I don't know what the official stat is.
Australia, 2 of Graham Arnold's.
Yeah.
But no, seriously, maybe out of the 20, I bet it's
got to be like
3?
A handful.
Yeah.
It has to be a handful. An Argentine leading the Syrian side. The way I've seen them, bro, they keep games incredibly tight. A lot of 1-0 losses, but also a very tough ability to generate any offense for themselves. I think their ability to keep the games close will actually help them against these top teams, but their inability to generate anything will also bite them in the goddamn ass. So for me, Syria, I do see as them and India being on a very similar level, and it's a toss-up between both these teams to see who gets third and who gets fourth.
Yeah, it is that inability to create chances why I have Syria finishing bottom of this table. They can keep it tight. They're very organized and well-drilled team. I don't want to discredit them for that, but dude, they just don't have an offense. And I see India having a little bit more chance creation in that game when they do play, and I'm hoping that they score 1 or 2 goals. And that's why I have India finishing above Syria. But just so I can give some love towards Syria, my first introduction to them was back in 2017 when, dude, they almost got really close to qualifying for the World Cup in 2018. They were in the Asian playoff against Australia, lost tragically in extra time to go to the interconfederational playoff, but Syria got crazy close. And in the grand scheme of things, the fact that Syria even got that close was absolutely ridiculous. But they were a good team back then. But that's my problem with them. Since 2017, year to year, Syria have slowly declined. Their offense, what was once good, honestly, between 2015 and 2017, has completely disappeared. And now they find themselves here in 2024 with literally no offense, bro. They have Omar Kurbin, who is going to lead the line for them, but he just doesn't have any help. He has zero help. What's really interesting, though, about this team is Hector Cooper, I guess with his Argentinian linkage, has brought 4 South Americans to this team. I guess, one plays in Peru, the other 3 play in Argentina, which is crazy, bro. It's nuts. And so I don't even know how that Syrian descent works, but they are here.
Oh, that's a reach right there, bro.
I know. Maybe it's like their grandfather or something, bro. It works. It's legal. Yeah. But it's really interesting. All 4 South American players that will be playing just got the call up maybe 2-3 months ago when Cooper joined Syria. So that'll be interesting to see them play. But overall, I just think their lack of finishing is going to do them in and have them finish fourth.
See ya, Syria. I think it's the slogan for this team this tournament. Thank you for coming. Let's talk about the fun teams in this tournament then, bro. Let's talk about the fun teams because this group is purely top heavy with, Asian studs, Australia.
Yeah.
And one of the most feisty, many would say one of the most fun teams in this tournament, Uzbekistan joining the group as well. This is such a debate for me between who gets first place in this group, but also just acknowledging the state of both these teams. Australia maybe not being considered a top 2, maybe even top 3 contender, but always having that ability to go deep in this tournament. And Uzbekistan on an insane rise as they've had insane games to prepare themselves for this tournament.
Oh, yeah.
Where do you stand on both these teams? Which team do you want to talk about first as the one that stands out to you the most right now between both of them?
Well, let's just start with Australia because when you consider Asian top teams, Australia has been in that conversation for the last 15 years. And even if their lineup doesn't look as exciting as, like, say, a Japan or a South Korea, Australia always perform, always. Winning it in 2015 in Australian soil. This Australian team had a really good 2022 FIFA World Cup campaign as well. So coming into this tournament, I honestly do see Australia just straight up as title contenders. I'm not saying they'll win it, but if there's teams that could win it, I'm definitely putting Australia in that conversation.
I agree. No, I agree. They're my top 4. If I have my top 4 list of contenders, they're number 4 for me.
Yeah.
Number 4.
What's really interesting, though, is once I took a gander at the lineup, there's something that I really want to point out here. So this is a list of players that are not coming to this tournament.
Yeah. Give it to me.
No Milos Degenek from Red Star Belgrade. No Massimo Luongo. No Aydin Hrustic. No Aaron Moy, who's retired now. No Jamie McLaren. No Awar Mabil. And no Matthew Leckie. That's a lot of experience that is not being called up. There's still some familiar faces. Matty Ryan, Harry Suter, Jackson Irvine will feature in that midfield. And then up top, you have Craig Goodwin, Mitchell Duke, and Martin Boyle, who tragically missed out on the World Cup last year due to injury, is now getting that call up for Australia in a massive tournament. But there's a lot of experience that is not going to be at this tournament. When you look at it, the starting 11 will have basically 5 to 6 new faces. And that's crazy, bro. But here's the thing. I trust Graham Arnold. I really do. On a short-term perspective, this actually probably will hurt their title chances. I do think it will. I think if they brought all of these young players mixed in with all of their veteran experience, I actually could see Australia making a very deep run and even finding themselves in a final. But the fact that this is going to be a very inexperienced team, I think is going to hurt overall their title chances. But I think what Graham Arnold's trying to do here, he's looking at the bigger picture, man. And I actually love it. If Australia's in a transitionary phase, what better way to put new players in a high-pressure situation than just doing it at a cup? Just doing it at a cup tournament. Because now they'll have the experience and the chemistry of playing with each other at a singular tournament, and then they can take all of that experience that they learned with each other and have a really good World Cup qualifying campaign. And then by the time 2026 rolls around, this will be a new Australian side, but one that knows each other and one that will be able to compete. And let's just be honest. What Graham Arnold did at the 2022 FIFA World Cup with Australia was astonishing, bro. I had Australia going to the tournament as one of the weakest teams. They got out of the group stage.
We're mentioning
this,
but
it was off of pure bravery, pure grit. When a lot of teams did not have it. Denmark. I'm looking at fucking Denmark right now. But Australia did. They didn't have the quality, but Graham Arnold set these guys up to succeed, but to succeed the Australian way. So I don't care who he's calling up. I have full faith in Australia's coach, Graham Arnold.
I think it's insane, man. The Argentina prediction gets highlighted so much, but people forget how wrong we were about Australia, man. We rated them as one of the worst teams going to that World Cup, and they proved us absolutely wrong with the way that they played. losing 2-1 to the world champions even and playing a really feisty game.
Yeah.
But what I really like about Graham Arnold and just the whole federation entirely is the way they go about preparation, the way they run themselves as almost like a club, man, because the teams they played against this past year just to prepare for this tournament, they faced off against Argentina twice, only allowed 2 goals to them each time. They faced off against Ecuador, against Mexico, and even England, bro. One of the top European sides, only allowing 1 goal to England. And I think one thing that I want to focus and key in on for this Australian side is their defense. I think their defense is one of the best ones that any Asian team has to offer, led by Harry Sutar, who's over at Leicester now, played in the Premier League for a little bit before they got relegated, now in the Championship, but by far one of the best defenders in this tournament as a whole. And then you got Matthew Ryan at back, who's always been just such a solid and reliable goalkeeper for this Australian team and a leader at the back. I think defense goes really, really far in these tournaments, man. And the fact that I rate Australia as a top 3, maybe even top 2 defense in this tournament, I think will allow them to be successful in the long run. And they still have what I would consider a little bit of a mini core, if you will, with Jackson Irvine playing, Matthew Ryan, Harry Sutar, Mitchell Duke, Martin Boyle. Like, they still, despite losing so many guys, they still have guys that can step up and showcase themselves at a very high and intelligent level. They last won this tournament in 2015, and to me, the craziest stat about them as well is they're the second biggest Asian Give and Go fan base at number 8 in our rankings as far as who watches our content the most. Australians, man, they love the Give and Go, bro.
Absolutely, man. And even alongside that mini core that you just described, all of the talent that is being called up, bro, is based in Europe. Like, let's not ignore that. And it's why, even despite the lack of experience that's being brought to this team, it's why I have Australia still as truly a title contender. Mm-hmm. This team has a lot to give, and I'm very interested to see what they can do this year.
My question then to you is, do they get first in this group?
I'm going to go ahead and say yes.
Same.
Because I just think overall the quality is very high. Their preparation has been excellent. And overall, just their performances at each World Cup, winning the AFC Asian Cup in 2015, I think that goes a long way. And yeah, they have a lot of talent. Let's not ignore it. I have them finishing top of the group.
I'm with you. That leaves us with Uzbekistan, number 68 in FIFA's world rankings, coached by Shreko Katanic. Mm-hmm. Bro, these guys have been on tour for the past year. If you're looking for a team with results, this is the one, with wins or draws versus Iran, Mexico, Venezuela, Bolivia, Russia, Cameroon. Oh, yeah. Bro, I just named teams that are in the CAF, UEFA, CONMEBOL, and CONCACAF region, bro. These dudes play in Asia. That's crazy, man. An absolute world tour. And the style of play, the way that they are so cohesive with one another, the way that they press teams specifically stands out to me very well, especially in the midfield. This team also has flair. If you look over at the wing positions, they remind me of like a Japan, but just a little bit more less fleshed out. I do think ultimately they will get second place in this group under Australia because of my belief in their defense. It's a little untrustworthy at times, and they can be a little leaky, but it's always a shootout when you face off against the Uzbeks. And they'll definitely score a ton of goals in this tournament, bro, and they'll definitely be one of the funnest teams to watch. But I do think they get second, and they pose the potential to do something crazy in this tournament.
Wow. No, I completely agree with pretty much everything that you just said. But if I may, dude.
Why don't you dive in a little bit more for me, yeah?
Uzbekistan are in flying form. You just listed off of the type of teams that they've played over the last 12 months, mainly winning, couple of draws. And, you know, if you hadn't seen them play, I'm sure a lot of y'all saw them play against Mexico in that crazy 3-3 draw. And we saw the full display of what an Uzbekistan, God damn it.
Yeah.
The full display of what an Uzbek offense looks like, because they went off against Mexico. But again, definitely a little leaky at the back. But my God, I mean, their only losses this year, a 1-0 loss to Iran, I think that's respectable. That makes sense. And then 3-0 to one of the best sides in the world, the USA. But my God, dude, the form that Uzbekistan are in, probably the best form of any team outside of the top 6.
Yeah.
100% Uzbekistan are trying to cement themselves as being competitive with the top teams in Asia this year. And the thing is, man, I think the way that they've been playing, you kind of said it, they're kind of like a Japan, and I agree. Yeah. They're so defined in the way that they play. There's an emphasis on playing from the back, keeping ball possession, and then pressing when they lose it. And then, you got some studs in this team. You really do. And all of that considered, I have Uzbekistan as my dark horse of the tournament. Yeah. The dark horse for me. Outside of the top 5, I have Uzbekistan with the next best chance to lift this title.
What are your thoughts then on Shomurodov being out injured? Their captain and possibly their best player.
This is what sucks. And this is what really hurts me. I don't want to change my overall analysis of this Uzbekistan side because they are more than just one player. Yeah. That's the beauty of this team. They're going to dearly miss Shomurodov. Let me make that very clear.
Please.
I'm fucking bummed that he's going to miss out because having a front three of Sergeyev, Shomurodov, and then my boy Austin Uranov on the other side, that would have been so deadly. But they have players who can fill in that role. Obviously, they're not going to have the same talent or the same ability as Shomurodov, obviously. But I still do think that Uzbekistan is more of a collective team, very similar to Japan, where the whole is much greater than the individual. And I still think they'll have a very successful campaign and will make a deep run no matter what.
Yeah, I think what's beautiful about this Uzbekistan team is I can already say with a lot of assurance, I think we're going to see them at the next World Cup. Because they're doing all the proper things to be able to be considered a team of that quality at the international stage. I think going on a deep run here, even if they get to quarters, bro, I think that's a massive achievement. But I do see them with the ability to get to even the semifinals, bro, and facing off against a South Korea or a Japan, depending on how the bracket plays out. I see them as being a team that could go on like a more dark horse type run than a Cinderella run because it's very much deserved and merited. And I want to see them be successful on this stage because they could become the next Asian power, or at least the next Asian team to watch for that plays really enjoyable football and has a really good team strategy attached to them as well.
Oh, they're so fun to watch. And it's crazy because you can make this really cool parallel when you look at the local teams in Uzbekistan. Navbahor and Nasaf have been playing elite football in the AFC Champions League, and you draw it out to the national team, and it's the same thing.
Actually, they correlates.
It correlates like crazy, and a lot of the talent in this Uzbekistan side from Nasaf and Navbahor. It's beautiful to see, but I agree, man. They're on a path to succeed, and I definitely see them at this next World Cup. 100% agree with that. And within this Asian Cup, I think they can make it to the semifinals. I think they have the talent to do so. The only thing is they'll need to avoid Japan or maybe Iran in, let's say, a quarterfinal. If they face those teams in the quarters, then I don't see them getting through. But if they can get just a slightly favorable draw on the knockout stage, I have Uzbekistan making a semifinal appearance because this team is that good, truly. They can be, at their best, a top 4 side in Asia. It's awesome to see. And when you look at some of their players outside of Shomurodov, you got some ballers, man. I remember Masharipov balled out against Mexico. He plays in Greece right now, an excellent attacking midfielder. Alongside him, you could pair Iskanderov, who plays for Navbahor. He's also a really good player on the ball who looks to go forward. And then I already mentioned it, but I do want to highlight him one more time. Austin Uranov, left winger for Navbahor. Outside of like the top 5 teams in Asia, he is one of the only players that can actually take on a defender one-on-one by himself. That isolation is so rare in teams that aren't in the top 5, bro. But Uzbekistan have it. And what's crazy is that he doesn't play in Europe. He doesn't play in the middle. He plays in Uzbekistan. But it just shows you the type of talent that Uzbekistan trying to grow and develop within their own country. And I think it's going to finally come to something here at this Asian Cup, man.
So we agree, Australia and Uzbekistan. Australia in first, Uzbekistan in second. We just disagree with Syria and India. We have them flipped.
I have them flipped.
All right, fair enough. That's Group B right there.